Hi, in this video I'm going to talk about Components API. And as you can see, I have my components instance here. I have quite a few custom components which I grabbed from the XMCloud Play Summit demo, which is publicly available on GitHub and you can use it as well. And to review the endpoints that are available, I'm going to open the network tab in Chrome, refresh the page, and just browse for API calls which I can find here. So let's see, I'm looking for a libraries call which is here. So this libraries endpoint actually gonna return you all the components libraries that are available in your organization. I have two here, for example, and typically you have one XMCloud project, one components library, and you can see collections here as well. You see collections in a specific library. So in this case, this is a library, context library I'm using now, and it has all of these collections which are just groupings for components. Same way I can, if I go to specific page with my component, I will get my component data or data sources. I don't have any custom data sources here. It all comes from XMCloud, but I could use them as well. And here in the settings, there is one important setting, which is your library API key. So for this library, this is the API key you can use to query some data in Postman, your custom automation. This API key doesn't change, doesn't expire unless you somehow update it, so you can use it wherever you want. So libraries endpoint, I can actually query it not only using that API key, but also using standard Sitecore's JWT authentication. I have showed it in the previous examples, so I've got my CLI token here, and I can query the same endpoint using the CLI token, which is JWT token, and you see I got the same results as I got from the web. But it's not the simplest way to do things, and API key, which doesn't expire, works great for automation. The difference is that you don't need authentication header. You just use custom XAPI key header. You set your API key to the value which you copy from the settings page, and basically you have all the same data. You're getting collections in this case using the API key from the settings page. You can use the same approach to get anything else like data sources, or in this case style sheets. API key, make sure it's the same as on the settings page, and you get all the styles from the context library in components. So you might ask, what do I do with all these APIs? Is there space for automation? One scenario we came up with in our team is you can serialize your components to the disk. We have this open source Play Summit demo. You have some examples here to push components to the library and also pull them from the library to the local disk. And let's just fill in the library ID and keys here. So library's ID is the same, and we do the same with API key. So we'll just populate these two variables on top. Yep. And now we can basically first we will run this components pull script, which will basically use the API to download all the data sources, styles, components, collections, and basically just back up your components instance, right? So it works pretty quickly. You can see we have collections, we have components and data sources, all these separate JSON files. That's how it comes back from the API, and that's how we save them. So collections, again, just group in your components and reference some IDs to the components. It's actually stored in our example in this folder. It's not super readable, but it's definitely version controllable, so you can save them, put them into your GitHub account, and yeah, you'll be safe. So use case, how you could use it. Let's say you have this commerce collection and it gets accidentally deleted. And what to do next? Like, you don't have any commerce on your website now, or what? When this kind of script, unless in future it gets part of the product, but you see, like, there is no commerce here now. If you back it up to disk, you can pretty easily restore it. So this components push script will actually will run the script, and it will read the data from the disk, from the same folder where we back them up, and upload them to the components library. So let's go back to components. And refresh this page. Yep, so you see, commerce is back. All the versions, it has, you see, like, it has 2 versions, other one has 3 versions, everything is back. And that was pretty much it about Components API. There is not a lot of endpoints, but they're pretty useful. You can back up, you can version control data to see who changed what, and go back in time to any point you want.